Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders in Great Millstone who rule well, teach well, with sincerity, honesty, and integrity. Also the brothers who labor in this truth, putting their life on the line. Shalom to you brothers. And the brothers and the very few sisters who listen into this truth wholeheartedly, with sincerity. Shalom to the hopeful elect. All right. So this lesson, I pray that it's edifying. And the title of this lesson will be named, I'm going with more Sons of the Living Power and Sons of the Wicked. So the difference between men of the Lord, the seed of the Lord, the chosen seed of the Lord, which was given to Abraham, Isaac, then Jacob, and then the wicked, which was Esau. All right, Esau, Edom, which is also known as the so-called white man. All right, All right, so let's get into this. Let's get into this, man, and we'll go from there. All right, there's numerous examples where you can go throughout the scriptures and prove who is the wicked, right? And we just have to put a face on it. And we're going to do it. We're going to use a few examples right now. We're not going to go through, a lot, but we'll go through a few examples so you can have an idea who's the wicked and who's the children of Israel. All right? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start here at Job 21. All right? Matter of fact, let's go where let's stop at Job. Let's start at Job 9 and 24. So we're just gonna set the foundation of this lesson. All right, Job 9 and 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So if you close your eyes, right, when you think of who's in power right now, one, ask yourself what they look like and what nations do they derive from, where do they come from, who they look like, right? So when you close your eyes and you say the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right now the Lord, he gave the earth into the hand of the wicked. So when you look, do you see so-called black people, which is black mean nobody's black, that's voided of light, or do you see, Hispanics, or do you see so-called Native Americans in power? Because those are the true sons of Israel. So-called blacks, so-called Negroes, right? So-called Latinos, and the so-called Native Americans. Those are the true sons of Israel. And through scriptures and through faith, we're going to prove that, all right? But when you close your eyes and you think of the wicked, which is, again, Esau, Edom, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Who is the wicked? Who's running things? Who's in power right now? I know those the so-called Negroes, the so-called Latinos, the so-called Native Americans is not in power right now. So when you think of who's in power right now, who is in power? The so-called white man, starting with Amalek, which is the so-called Jewish, right? And Ish mean pertaining to, so they're letting you know that they're not the real Jews. They Jew-ish. Ish. Like when you go into that color is, like the show that's called Black-ish, right? Then you got somebody's acting childish, right? They're not a child, but they're acting childish, right? Pertaining to. So they're acting Jewish, right? They stole from the real Jews. Okay? That's why they're living in Israel. They inhabited the Holy Land, which is in Jerusalem, and they claim that this happened. That's why that's the small hats. They call them. That's why the 1948ers, because then that's when they claim that's when they was placed in their Holy Land. But let's go back. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Asking that question. Who is the wicked then? Who is the earth was given into the hand of the wicked? So who is the wicked? The so-called white man, right? And then to have, like, again, the so-called small hat people, all right? And they cover the faces of the judges, the real people who are the men of the Lord. Right? And we just to set that tone, again, we'll just go to Proverbs. You know where I'm going. Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Now ask yourself, are people right now rejoicing? Or do you see the average person have to cover their face with a so-called, with a mask? Because there's pestilence. There's plagues right now, right? People are not rejoicing right now. So we know the righteous are not in authority. The people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. Are people mourning right now? Are people losing their jobs, losing their income? They don't know how they're going to be able to feed their family, feed their children, feed themselves. Is that what's going on right now for the majority of people? And then there's one group of people they're not worried about those things. They have no worries, no cares. Their life is not in straits. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go into that word. So, yes, Yasta, H3334. So, to bind, be distressed, be in distress, be cramped, be narrow, be scant, be in straits, make narrow, cause distress, be sieged, right? Vexed, right? All right, let's go back. Let me go back to Job here. Job 21. Let's start. So their life, that's their life right as of right now. That was talking of future prophecy when the end of their rulership, which is very soon. Their life, they're gonna be in straits. But as of right now, they have everything's going their way. They have everything that they need at their fingertips, man. They can everything they need, everything they want to have. Whatever their children want to have, they have it. All right, let's go into these scriptures to prove it. Job 21:7. Wherefore do the wicked live, become old, yea, are mighty in power. So remember, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. They have the power to destroy. They have a power to destroy nations, right? They have the power to destroy cities. And obviously it's given to them by the hands of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, but they have the power. And and do they become old? Do they die of old age? Because they have money, they have the resources to get any type of medication or anything or they know the right, they're privy, they have the right resources when it comes to food, right? They eat better food than we eat. That's why there's a Whole Foods and a Trader Joe's in all their neighborhoods. And even when it goes to the elite, they have things that we can't even think of right now. Their seed is established in their sight with them. Salaki. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to prove the point. Let's go back. Salaki. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28. And you know what? We'll start at 15. So let's start at 15. Deuteronomy 28:15. But it should come to pass if thou will not hearken. You know what? Salaki. We're gonna get to the. So we know. Psalms 147 and 19. Psalms 147 and 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. So the law, statutes, and commandments was given to Jacob and to Israel. All right, 147 verse 20. He have not dealt so with any nation, and for his judgments they have not known him. Praise ye the Lord Yahweh. So these laws, statutes, and commandments was only given to one nation, that was Israel, Jacob. Okay? No other nations. All right? So we know that now. That's been established that, okay, these laws, statutes, and commandments only be given to one nation, and he's not dealt so with other nations. All right, let's go back to Deuteronomy 28 and 15. But it should come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord Yahweh thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses should come upon thee and overtake thee. So now we know we're talking about Israel, and we're talking about Jacob. That's the only nation he give his law, statutes, commandments to. So now, since we haven't hearkened, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of thy Lord thy power, which happened, these curses will overtake thee. Right? So now we would think it was a group of people that these curses must fit. And you're going to ask yourself, do they fit the people that's dwelling in Israel right now? The small hat people? Or does it fit the so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, and the so-called Native Americans? That's what you have to ask yourselves as we go through this, all right? So we just read Job, we'll do it again, Job 21 and 7. Wherefore do the wicked live, become old, yea, are mighty in power. So again, who's in power and who's not in power? What do they look like? What is their description? All right, now we're going to go to 28 and 19. Curse shall, because they're old, right? Curse shall thou be when thou comest in, and curse thou shalt be when they goest out. So being born in this place, and as we leave this place, we're cursed. We don't have the privilege, the privilege that these people have. When they go to the best hospitals, right? The best health care, right? The best foods. That's why they're able to, again, live longer than the so-called Negro, so-called Latino, and the so-called Native American. When you think of the so-called Negro, you drive around the ghettos, what's the barrios? I probably pronounced that wrong, right? But the ghettos, the reservations with the so-called Native Americans, we're barely getting by. And we die. We don't get to die. Most of us don't get to die of old age. Now let's go to Job. Let's go back to Job 21. Their seed is established in their sight with them, and their offspring before their eyes. So when you think of a group of people, you got the soccer mom, they got the soccer van, they living in the suburbs. Man, I do ride sharing, I deliver food, right? Man, I go into some of these neighborhoods, man. They living deliciously, right? They have a pool. They have a pool and a basketball court in their backyard with plenty of field. They get to see their seed established in their sight. The average don't have mommy and daddy and their children, right? Let's go to that's so who's living like that? What majority of people is living like that? Ask yourself, is it the so-called, because when you go into the ghettos, the average home, when I grew up in my age range, the average home had no father in the house, man. No father in the house. The mother's constantly at work, working 2 jobs, right? Just to see ends meet. Barely getting by. Always at grandma's house. That sound more familiar, right? Let's go to Salakia. Let's go back to that. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28. Salakia. Okay. What was it? Oh, Salakia. Thy sons, Deuteronomy 28. You know what? We gonna get that one too. I'm gonna read that and then we're gonna go to another one. Deuteronomy 28:32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes shall look and fill with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. So that even goes all the way back to slavery. We was broken up, our families was broken up. That goes back into slavery. That goes back into the Native Americans, right? To this day, they finding human remains of young Native American children in Canada. We're not finding, to this day, remains of these small hat people, most of these so-called white people, Esau, Edom. No. They're not doing experiments on so-called Edom and Esau. No. There's not millions of children that's always missing. If you go into your local Walmart, right? That look like us. They just the other day, there was one girl that was missing, and they almost shut down the whole country for her. That one all give me, I like looking in this one. Let's go here. So this one, you know what? Deuteronomy. Salakia. You know what? I ain't gonna look forever for it, but we're not gonna be able to enjoy our children, man. And I know if you have the script, if you know the precept, you can put it in the comment board. I'm not gonna spend too much time looking for it. All right. So that goes without saying. So go back to Job 21. Their seed is established in their sight with them and their offspring before their eyes. They're not being separated, right? They get to see again. They get to see little Timmy and Johnny go to school and go to the private schools, go to the best schools, right? Playing the sports and doing whatever their heart desire. All right. Job 21 and Job 21:9. Their houses are safe from fear, neither is the rod of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua upon them. All right. So their houses are safe from fear. They don't fear anything. Right? They're not. Let's go to Deuteronomy. So that's them. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 6. And this is describing, remember, the law, the curses that was upon Israel, right? And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. Who that sound like? Who wakes up every day, don't know how they gonna make, if they even gonna make it to the next day? Right? Never. Also, when you like Apostle Gabar was just saying, when them police pull up behind you, whose life is in doubt? They don't know how they gonna pay their bills. Who that sound like? Every day they don't know how they make it. They just made it through by the skin of their teeth. Like, damn, it was another day I just barely made it through by the skin of my teeth. What group of people you can think of live like that? You so-called Negroes, you so-called Latinos, and you so-called Native Americans. We're not seeing these small hat people living like that, man. Even through recessions, through quarantines, they're good. They're good. Quarantine just passed, man. You know how much people are struggling from losing their jobs. They barely have enough money. They probably don't even have no money saved, actually. I remember when I was in finance, they said the average American has less than $500 saved. So if there was an emergency, there was no way they was going to be able to handle that emergency. But you think they're living like that? They're set up. They're good. Like it says, they don't live in fear. They're not thinking about what's gonna happen. They're like, man, and we pray. Obviously tomorrow, the Lord gives us what He gives us, right? But every day, the average Jake is they don't know how they're gonna make it to the next day, man. They don't know how they're gonna pay their rent. They don't know how they're gonna pay their car to get to work. They barely get by. Job 21 and 10. Their bull gendereth and faileth not. Their cow calveth and casteth not her cow. They send forth their little ones like a flock, and their children dance. Again, they send their children go to the best schools, man. They flourish, man, in this place. This is their kingdom. Again, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. So who is the wicked? Who's flourishing right now? Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 41. Oh, see right here. Thou shalt begot sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them. So you can have sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, especially for the Israelite man. This is a queendom. Everything's set up to get for Eve and Esau to get together to overthrow the Israelite man. So he's either going to be in jail, or right? Or he's been brought up in a house where there was no man in the house, so he's just repeating the cycle. But most of the time, is Eve and Esau getting together to overthrow the man. So he's not able to enjoy his children. Every day is life hanging doubt. So where does he end up? In prison. And again, the mother, she's working 2-3 jobs. She's not able to enjoy the children. The children's being raised by their siblings, their older siblings, right? Then they go out into the street, and the streets is raising them. The schools is raising them. Thou shalt begot sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. And again, that starts with all the multiple captivities, the slaveries. All the way to now where they end up in prison, the prison system, because they have no guidance. That's the new age captivity. Who fills up the majority of those prisons? So-called black and so-called brown people. Shit, and if they and again, because this ain't about a color thing, it's a nation thing. And if they do, some of those white people that's in, so-called white people in there, they Israelites. They just have the curse of leprosy on them. Some of those people fit these curses just as much as a black and brown person fit these curses. A so-called black and brown person fit these curses, man. Let's go back. They take, Job 21 and 12, they take the timbrel and harp and rejoice at the sound of the organ. They spend their days in wealth and a moment go down to the grave. So, man, they spend their days in wealth like I expressed earlier. How you go into their neighborhoods, man, oh man, they live in lavish. They live in real down to, the average so-called Edomite, man, they living good. As they living good. The household income is about $150,000. That's at a lower level, man. They living good, man. They send their children to the best schools, man. They ain't worried about anything. They live their life in wealth. All right? Let's go to Deuteronomy. And again, let's compare it to Deuteronomy 28 and 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. So we don't prosper in our ways, man. The more and more we try to be like Esau, is we think we're like, oh man, I feel there's some prosperity in this. Trying to be like Esau, the wicked, right? And then the wicked, knocks you right back down to reality. He'll take whatever he gave you, he'll take it away like it's nothing. And you've seen many entertainers and athletes and even people in the professional industries. They'll tell you, man, like, man, they had to kiss ass, they had to backstab this person and this person just to get to the position they're at. That's not prosperity, man. And then it can be taken away by a snap of a finger. We're oppressed, right? We're the spoils, man. They said a true king has slaves, has servants. This is their kingdom / queendom, right? This is theirs. This is that sinful kingdom. And we're their spoil. And the Lord Yahushua made it like that. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua made it like that, man. Because we went off again in Deuteronomy 28:15. But see, things is going to change. Things is going to flip. What's first is going to be last, and what's last is going to be first. So that's why we're going to end it with this one. We got 2 more, we end it, right? And the Lord, Deuteronomy 30:7, and the Lord Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon our enemies. So all the curses that you've seen in Deuteronomy 28:15 down, obviously, again, clearly fits a set of people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and the Native Americans, and it doesn't fit a certain set of people as well, man. Clearly. And we clearly seen in Job 21 who's the wicked and what set of people is living a certain way and what certain people is not living a certain way. The scriptures is plain, man. He that have eyesight is going to see it. But the scriptures is plain, man. Deuteronomy 30:7. And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. So it's going to be a flip-flop, man. It's going to be a flip-flop, man. We'll get that real quick. Esau's the end of the world and Jacob's the beginning of it. That follow it. All right? We'll get that real quick. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Right? 2nd Ezra 6:9. So it's gonna be a flip-flop, man. The end of this man's rulership, man. The end of his lavish lifestyle, man. The end of him living in prosperity, man. The end of him living without fear. It's the end of that. And it's the end of us. It's the beginning of the end of us living in the total opposite, living in fear, life hanging in doubt, right? There's going to be elect, there's going to be a remnant that's going to be delivered out of this place, man. The elect of Israel. So 1/3 of Israel will be delivered out of this place, man. We'll have rulership over all these other nations. And then the rest of Israel is going to eventually come back in a new kingdom, and they're going to have rulership over all the nations. We're going to be set back in our place, Israel. We went off, so we're being punished right now. However, it's almost ended that punishment, man. It's almost ended that bid. We at the end of that bid, man. And we just counting down the days, man. Through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, we're hastening the day to come in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. And that's why we go right here real quick. And then, that's why right here, Proverbs 3. No, that's not that one. Is it? Oh, yes, that's down. Right here, Proverbs 3:31. Envy thou not the oppressor. So we figured out who the oppressor is, man. We figured out who the oppressor was. When they said the nation's gonna be oppressed. So we know the nations who's being oppressed. You know who's being oppressed. That's the so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, and so-called Native Americans. We know they're being oppressed right now, right? So who is the oppressor? right? Let's go. So now we know who the oppressor is as well. Proverbs 3:31. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. So don't envy this man. He's about to go down. Don't go after his ways, man, because you will be destroyed along with him. And then you have to come back again, like I said, as a baby. But if you go after his ways, you will be destroyed. You don't envy that man through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. We just got to be steadfast. If you're hopeful, if you have that number, the 1/3, and you pray that, and we pray that we are of that number. That's why we humbly say we are the hopeful elect, right? Then stay on course. Don't envy anything that the wicked has, man, because that's temporary, man. What we're gonna have is gonna be for eternity, man. All right, so with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rokah, Quadash. Double honors to the apostle and elders and great millstone who rule well, teach well with sincerity, honesty, and integrity. Also the brothers who labor in this truth, putting their life on the line, especially in these times. Shalom to you brothers and you very few sisters who believe in this truth wholeheartedly. Shalom.